Hello and welcome to the virtually agile meetup. I'm your co-host today, Fred Deichler, along with my co-host, David Stelzer. Um, we're on opposite sides of the world, but we're here to bring a great session here with Felipe. As you see, we are in Butter, our platform of choice. So why don't we do, for those of you who might be your first time using Butter, let's do a very quick introduction. If you've been here before, this is all stuff that you already know. So if you look over on the left side of the screen, you should see an icon that says React. It doesn't have it has a person's face, so you can go ahead and you can click on those things and you do some reactions into. I must have done that thumbs down. Also, at the end when we go through a Q&A at the end, we'll turn on the soundboard, which is now enabled for you. You can try things out, like somebody crickets, boxing bells, all sorts of stuff. So I'm gonna turn that off so we're not distracted during great end. Distracted during the event. But yes, say react to things with emojis, makes it all fun. If you have a comment or a question up in the on the side, there's a thing that says Q. You can type that there. And myself or David will relay that to Felipe because he won't be able to watch chat while we're going. Additionally, if you do have something that is stuck in your mind, you just need to say, feel free, unmute respectfully, and ask your question. We want to make this an interactive workshop here with Felipe. You can go ahead and chat, say hello to people. You can respond in threads. So if you want to add on something to something somebody said or throw a link, feel free to use the chat. Additionally, you can use the notes feature. This is personal notes, and you will get this transcript to you at the end of the call. And at the end, please stick around where it asks for your feedback on the session. I know Felipe would love your feedback, and us at Virtually Agile would love your feedback on the session today. You can use your keyboard to mute or unmute, and for M for mic and V for video. If I do hear background noise, I probably will mute you. Not probably, I will mute you just so we don't have a lot of on our recording. This session is recorded, which we'll post on YouTube later. So if you don't want your face on YouTube when you talk, go ahead, turn your video off. So hey, if you're ready to get started, why don't we give a thumbs up or a thumbs down? You can do that, or you can do it with the emojis, or you can click on the screen. Excellent. All right, and one other one, we're going to do a quick one of my favorites, which is where in the world are you? I think that this will also help Felipe, who's part of the West Coast, Best Coast, know where people are at. A lot of people in the U.S. Oh my gosh, Jamie, yours has a real icon. It's not just initials. I need to upgrade my Butter to that.
That's because I'm cool.
Wonderful. We got some people in Europe. We got some people in Africa. Love it, love it, love it. And so now I'm going to turn to Felipe. First, I'm going to give an introduction. So here, Felipe, he is the author of Construction Scrum, a distinguished keynote speaker, and holds the position of Project Delivery Service Director at the Bolt Company, and hosts the EBFC Show podcast. He's recognized for his pioneering application of lean and agile practices. He revolutionizes construction projects, enhancing efficiency and reducing costs across projects, valued from millions to billions with a B. He's a registered Scrum trainer. His work not only advances strategies in construction, but he also teaches a transformative approach to construction professionals unfamiliar with Scrum. I mean, earlier today, Felipe was telling David and myself about how he uses Scrum at home, how his kid scrums him. I love it. He's the honored Chairman's Award for Lean Construction Institute, and developed the first Lean Construction Institute Scrum course aimed at construction professionals. Felipe, we're excited to have you here at the Virtually Agile Meetup. We'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Fred. I super appreciate. David tugged on my arm and said, "You got to get in here." So I was like, "Absolutely, I'm coming in." So I'm going to share my entire screen. And like we said, if you've got questions, you just need to ask, and we will be monitoring the asks. So, Fred, let me know. Are you seeing my screen there? Is it looking okay?
It is looking great.
Okay. So this is an adapted AI, artificial intelligence, powered Scrum. This is streamlined for success in design and construction. I work in construction, but I'll show you, we'll adapt. I see some of you are not construction people, and it's going to be May, as my boy Justin says. That is the lovely Tammy McConaughey in the colorized photo next to Justin on the left. She just took over as the director of education at the Lean Construction Institute, a place where I volunteer quite a bit. And in the black and white photo, you can see my face just behind Streamlined. That's where I like to be, the Streamlined place. We were using Scrum to develop the course and content that you're seeing right now. And then I've taken all of that with the help of Stephanie Roldan, who at the time was working at an electrical contractor. Now she's elevated herself all the way to a vice president executive position at the same company. And Kristen has since retired and is enjoying an amazing retirement. Love you, Kristen. So let's get started. Thank you so much, Fred, for that introduction. If you want to pick up my book or just get the free chapters of Construction Scrum, if you're into this industry and you want to play, my most favorite chapters I give away for free on the book website, constructionscrum.com, or follow me on social media. And I do actually answer. Yesterday, I got a phone call. True story, David. Somebody randomly called my number because it's posted on my LinkedIn profile. And I'll just say it's John, somebody we've been at different events. And he's like, I can't believe you actually answer your phone. It's like, yeah, I post my phone and comments on social all the time. I don't care about robo dialers and stuff like that. Like I have this thing called voicemail, and that kind of just handles all my problems. So use it as a filter. So what are we doing today? Today we have some adapted workshop learning objectives. This course is usually done in person. So we've hybridized it using the power of AI. We're going to master some Scrum foundation elements. I don't know what you know about Scrum, so I was just going to baseline us quickly with a short video, and we'll use an AI twist to grasp the essentials. We'll understand the powerful combination of Scrum with some AI tools, and I'm going to specifically help you all with some prompt engineering and also keep you safe for those of you who work in the corporate environment. I'm going to keep you safe in corporate America. We'll experience some hands-on applications. You're going to use your own web browsers and get out to some free AI tools to play with today during the session, and we'll report back and see how we're doing. And then at the end, if I do this right, you'll see the path to using the framework. And if we have time, depending on how the Q&A goes, got a small case study to share how we use this on a real construction project with pictures and stories. So we did a sweet introduction. I would love in the chat if you can just share what's the one thing you must learn in this session. And you can optionally, for extra bonus credit, you can tell me how many years of lean experience you have or how many years of industry experience you have and what industry you're in. But I really want to know, what do you want to learn? So what do you want to learn? Tell me in the chat, and I'm going to bring back my buttery screen so I can actually see what people are saying. So what do we got here?
Yeah, so put your pop open the chat to the left side of the screen and let Felipe know what you want to learn today.
Yeah, what do you want to learn? I'm going to just react in the chat as I see them live. I see Jamie wants to share her GPT. So
Anybody interested? It's a
just
pretty
share
good.
it.
All right.
Just share it. Just put it in the chat. Unless the
Sharing is
chat
caring.
blocks you. Exactly.
Well, let's see. We'll try it out.
All right. So we got Matt says he's on the board. Oh, Fred's on the board first. I want to learn when you might use Claude versus GPT. Oh, sweet. I'll definitely cover that. Matt says, what parts of Scrum can AI enhance the most from my experience? I think that's what YR is. I'll take it as your experience. I'll definitely hit that one. What can we enhance the most? Pasha, crash course of Scrum and construction, preferably construction robots. Pasha, I got you for the Scrum and construction. Unfortunately, construction robots I don't care about because I'm people first. And I like robots. We like this concept from Lean about having automation to help people, but not replace people. So, but we do have construction robots working. I'm not covering that today. So today I'm focusing more on the human and how we can use AI together. I'm sure we can program some awesome robots at some point. Julia says, want to learn practical applications of generative AI that your company has allowed you to use. Julia, I will talk about that in the protection area. Christina says something past the basics of power using AI and AI hacks. I hear a lot of the same AI Scrum meetups for the last couple of months. Christina, I don't go to meetups. This is my first time getting buttered on the bread. So we'll see what if I bring something new, or if this is the same old butter in your fridge, and just be like, wow, I was gonna put that back in there. But the good thing is butter is good for a long time. Fortune says whether it actually makes sense to use AI in our work in this current state of development. I've been doing Scrum since 06, total production system lean since 09. Fortune, you're gonna be using AI after this. David says how to successfully sprint at various stages, design construction, even when things are moving and changing quickly. Okay, I'll come back to that. If I don't hit that one, David, hit me back up in the Q&A when it seems right. And Kadiana says more about how to use AI as a resource. Absolutely. Jadoka, hello, we will. Will says how tools, reality capture platforms disperse, open space being used in Scrum, new to Scrum. Shout out to David for the invite. Yeah, Will, those tools are being used, and I'm not going to be talking about those tools today. So I apologize. I'm going to disappoint you because that would be a whole separate butter session for sure. That's a separate piece of bread that I haven't taken out of toaster yet. Okay, and then Sarah says Scrum AI applied to other areas other than software and product development. I got you, Sarah. Julia, I've been practicing Lean since 2016. Industries, telecom, banking, financial services. Thank you for that, Julia. I love that background. And Jamie, how can we best leverage AI to make our jobs easier while still keeping our humanity? Absolutely. And here's her AI chatbot is in there. So thank you so much. That is good set of resources. Let's go back into the Oh, you already all see in the slides anyway. So let's just jump in. So this is a safe space. This is the buttery goodness that Fred, David are watching to keep all your butter from falling off the plate. No one's going to slip and hurt. We'll call Elmo out loud. Elmo stands for enough. Let's move on. We'll do a special Scrum style facilitated Elmo. If an Elmo is called on anyone asking a question or me talking, 60 seconds roughly to land that conversation. If we need a parking lot, we will. And David's going to help me keep track of anything we have in the parking lot. Because just like Walmart in the United States, no cars can be left overnight. So we will unpark all the questions at the end. Your cell phones have voicemail technology, so they say, even though I know some of you in this room don't have it set up yet. So if you got to step away for a call, you're bad, you're lost, you're going to miss. So FOMO, stay here with us. Have fun. Let's talk. Actively speak. This is a safe space. So here's where we're going to start. Some of we're going from unaware to aware. We're going to keep racing this beautiful little car Ferrari away. The best way to get to the next level is actually to teach others. So that's what I'm doing today. Teaching, sharing what I use all the time. So warning, using lean principles and agile methods result in increased capacity. More time to improve, optimize, and coach others will be your problem. It's going to be the fight you're going to have. It's going to happen. So here's an example of using Scrum and design and construction right out the gate. I have used Scrum and design construction ever since I learned Scrum so many years ago with Dr. Sutherland. So I like to call him Jeff. And so on the right, you can see my handwritten little Post-it note with the Scrum framework, and I have placed inside of that the last planner system of production controls, which is a lean planning and scheduling framework system similar to Scrum, also built on PDCA, Plan, Do, Check, Act, Plan, Do, Study, Act, that allows teams to organize, make visual their work, break it up into smaller batches, and execute against said work in a very visual way. And we use that method to plan and schedule a 1-year design effort, and we saved, wait for it, drum roll please, how much time do we save? 4 months. So we took 4 months off of a design schedule using Scrum and these lean methods together. And then here's the evidence. Yeah,
5 says it all.
exactly. Yeah, so did the audio come across, Fred?
Did not hear anything. I heard a drum roll and then no
Perfect.
audio.
Yeah, that's what Butter does when you share PowerPoint. Just so everybody knows, Butter does not share sound unless the PowerPoint is inside of a web browser tab. That's okay. So what I was saying, this was Jessica's first day in Scrum. You saw the video, high five, first time ever using agile lean method to plan and schedule work. She's not like first day at work ever. It's just the first project where she's using it. And she's so happy. This is so obvious, so intuitive. High fives are given, multiple high fives. So, and then this is the output, really zoom back. On the left side, I've got another architect, Eileen McKenzie's in Canada, who I taught as a Scrum Master. She used this with her team immediately. So we have teams, across the world now in construction. I've personally been part of thousands of people getting turned on and started with this. So yes, Scrum does work outside of software and IT very well. You saw the evidence right there. And then we've got, we're going to do something different today. We're going to talk about Scrum from Jeff's newest book, Scrum First Principles in Scrum. Excuse me, Jeff slapped my little hand here. So Scrum is a framework that emerged from physics. A lot of people don't know that. Evolution of the brain, complex adaptive systems, AI, robotics. I think Jeff left out also his study in cancer research. For those of you that know, if you know, you know. And then we're going to look at this from first principles today. So basic, but yet very advanced. So AI, artificial intelligence, is changing the world. And then AGI, where my nerds at? What's AGI stand for? Who knows? Do you know, Fred?
Artificial general intelligence.
There we go. David's got it, or whoever that was. Almost sounded like David, but cooler. Yeah, so it's predicted by 2025. Yeah, it just wasn't British enough for me. So if it wasn't David, I don't know. I've told you I'm flying blind. So AI must be a collaborator with every team member and a member team. That's what Jeff's doing now. So like the things that we're sharing, these are not theoretical things. This is like it's happening now. Jeff is running 2 different companies currently, and one of them he's using an OpenAI trained instance as a member of the Scrum team to help his team stay organized. And he also used AI to help write his book. Twice the work, half time, not enough anymore. AI can do 80% of the work. We need to be able to do 5 times the work in a fifth of the time to compete. And you'll see some examples of how that is. So current research that they're continuing to do in their team is to help people 5x. 5x is what we're looking for by 2030. So now the human part. Here's the disclaimer. We'll keep you all safe working in corporate America. Many of us work as consultants, or we're working inside of large companies or even companies few as 5 people. I want everyone to remember this concept of human in the loop. If you've been watching the AI space for a while, you've heard this thrown around, and it's actually not very well explained all the time. So human in the loop. So if I have an idea thinking, you know what, I could probably use AI to help me do something, I'm going to take whatever I put into it is going to get processed by the machines, by the robots that are programmed by people. Even with high machine learning that iterates very quickly, the baseline programming, it still started with people. And then at the end, I have to close the feedback loop and decide, what do I do with what I just gave it? And even as I'm informing the AI, there are things to look out for. So again, if you're working in corporate America or in corporation, and we know we got some friends in Africa as well, and in Europe, wherever you're working, there's going to be laws, rules, regulations. So you can put information into any AI anonymized. You don't have to name names. Like if your company has a policy of you cannot use AI because we have confidential information or intellectual property, don't put in like, here's our intellectual property proprietary way. And in the instance of the AI you're using, especially in the free AIs, because that information gets used to train AI. So you're going to find today, like most of the AIs that I've talked to Claude, GPT, Gemini, and 3 others that I can't even remember what the name is right now because I haven't had enough coffee yet. They know things about Scrum. And some of the AIs even know things about me because I talk a lot to AI. So it's like we have a very good relationship, is what I would say. And we're getting past the friend zone and we're like, it's getting serious. So human in the loop. So be careful what you put in. Think about it. Think about it like this. We're going to use something that everybody remembers. There's things called newspapers. So I don't know, some of you might be old enough to remember when email first came out. Some guidance that we got was, if this conversation that you're having in email was published on the front page of whatever newspaper in your town is, would you be cool with what's said? Would you be okay with how you represented yourself? Think about that the same way with AI. There have been ways to reverse engineer what some of these platforms have used, and there's you can just research the lawsuits that they've had with various different organizations involving newspapers, just coincidentally, because newspapers have been used to train a lot of the AI. So I want you to remember, human in the loop. You're responsible. So for me, my personal experience, I use it as an extension of who I am. I talk to it exactly the way that I talk on social media. What you see now is exactly how I am, privately, publicly, but we all don't play that way. So now I want you to we're going to practice together. I'm going to show you first, and then you're going to use the AI of your choice. So I'm going to take the one thing that I want to learn in the session, give the AI some context. So here I'm doing what's called prompt engineering. I'm giving it some context of who I am. And look, it's still anonymous. I'm not naming my company, the Bolt Company, or my podcast company. I'm just saying, as a design and construction professional. So you would give it the context of what industry you're in with that first opening sentence. And these look just like Scrum epic stories, like we learned from extreme programming. For those of you that have some more software and IT Scrum experience and training. So we're just giving it context, just like a story. Now you tell it what you want, comma, I want to learn how to effectively use AI in Scrum to better align my team's conditions of satisfaction using Scrum. Because conditions of satisfaction is a lean thing that we use in highly collaborative projects in the United States, and also I know for sure in Australia, where we have high partnering, and in some areas of Europe as well. And then when I post all that I'm using Claude, and I'll put a link to Claude in a second. Just get that copy paste there. Boom, boom, boom. Watch how fast. Boom. So why am I using Claude? I'm using Claude over GPT, and I actually pay for GPT-4. So they're getting my $20 a month. The reason I like Claude in this example is because Claude is a very natural in the language. I think Claude on the longer type of, like when I want to think about something or have a longer conversation, versus just a quick and dirty, get it done type of thing, Claude delivers. So there you see that example. I'm going to blow up the prompt. So here for me, it said, hey, it's going to give it to me in 3 roles, because a lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know what the roles are in Scrum. You'd be surprised. You ask a room of quote unquote Scrum practitioners, the 3 roles, like the answers you get back. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've heard project manager. Project manager, still not a role in Scrum. And I know it's not going to be in the next Scrum update. So now it's saying, hey, Felipe, based on your response, this is cut and paste right from the prompt. I've just blown it up bigger so you can see this is all the stuff for the product owner. So it's telling me in the role that I gave it how I should do it. And then it said, hey, also based on this objective, you might think about Scrum Master. And here's 3 things for you to think about. This was just off of one prompt. And so at the very bottom, it says, by leveraging these responsibilities of the PO and the SM, because I'm the design and construction professional, can effectively learn how to use AI. And it's given me, so I have 6 total actions that I can take. I have 3 as the PO, 3 as the Scrum Master, right out the gate. So now let's practice this ourselves. So let's put ourselves human in the loop. If you go to Claude.ai, I want you to take your learning objective, and the text that's streaming right now is going to be part of your prompt. This is a 2-stepper. So I'm testing your ability to listen to the sound of my voice and do exactly as I say. So you're going to type in, you can use Claude, GPT, or an AI of your choice. Put in this prompt based on, don't say the objective. Yeah, no, you're going to say this exactly. This is exactly right. So based on the objective below, which Scrum role would be the most relevant and why? Question mark. Keep typing. Don't hit enter yet. Please provide specific details on how the responsibilities of the roles align with the student's desired outcome. And the continued prompt that you're going to keep typing and instead of my role in brackets, you're just going to write my role. If you're a Scrum Master on a team, write as a Scrum Master. If you're a product manager, write product manager, whatever your role is. Don't put your name, just your role. I want to learn, and then put in your learning objective that you dropped in the chat earlier using Scrum. And let's share what we got. So I'm going to shift my screenios here. And then I just would love if a few of you could just come off mute and tell me some highlights of what you're getting. Tell us what AI you're using, and then tell us the highlights, what you got. I will pause briefly for be able to hit enter. And I know like it usually takes about 45 seconds to type that prompt in. That's all one prompt. It says continued prompt. Do not type in continued prompt. You just keep typing. This is really setting context with the AI to have a conversation with it. So I'm leaving that screen share up so y'all can see. So it starts below that based on objective below, ends with the word Scrum. Anybody would like to share? We'll take anybody.
Does anyone want to share?
I hear ferocious typing. So it's like somebody's really getting this prompt down well. And I'm in dying suspense here.
It's a lot of typing.
So it is a lot of typing. It's a big prompt. And that's another thing that, yeah, you can have like the different AIs, Claude can take in at one time, it was like double the amount of text that you could put into a GPT window. I think they've closed the gap on that now with GPT-4. But Claude is very good for large sets of words, very large sets of words. And they just added, when I logged into Claude this morning, they just added recently the ability to do AI processing on images. So these things are all learning very well. I mean, so I use GPT daily, Claude at least once a week. Would anybody like to share? Did you try it, Fred? Did you want to learn anything?
I did. I asked it to describe like Claude versus GPT-4, and it
Did it look
it
biased?
started telling me about the product owner, which I'm like, I think you took a left turn. So maybe my question, it probably wasn't a good prompt. Like, let's say as a Scrum Master, I want to learn about Claude versus GPT-4 using Scrum. It's not probably like a question you would ask any sane person.
You got to take this the prompt in the beginning based
Oh
on
no,
the
I had
objective
that.
below. Yeah, all of that. And you got a junky answer?
I did. So I re-asked. I said, "Hey, as a Scrum Master, based on the objective below, I spelled it wrong, but it understood what I wrote." Which another thing I love about
I love that. Yeah,
AI.
I love that.
But I said, as a Scrum Master, I want to learn about how to apply better calendar management using Scrum, because I did talk about meetings and calendars earlier. It did give me quite a few things. I've not read through them, but it talks about 4 specific things. 1, coaching the team around self-organization and cross-functionality. Okay, about Scrum practices. Oh wait, hold on. It says the Scrum Master responsibilities. It just tells me about being a Scrum Master. I will say, I'm not satisfied with Claude right now, Felipe.
Yeah. So Fred is not liking the Claude. So you could try that if you use GPT. Try that same prompt in GPT-4. And while Fred's doing that, there's a couple things that I want to highlight right here in this moment. So this is the human in the loop. So Fred, in his reflection, he looked back, did not like it. He tried talking again. So a lot of people, when they get that first prompt response back, and they're like, well, that's not what I wanted, they just give up and stop talking. But Fred did the right thing. So more experienced AI user, continue the conversation and refine. You can give the AI feedback and say, no, I don't like this, or I like 2 and 3 of the 4 things you gave me. Tell me more about those, expand on those. 1 and 2 are wrong. And then you've got now you're having a conversation and it's refining that response for you. I always tell people, think about these AI things as very intelligent, like know-it-all children. Like they know everything, but if you don't talk to them right, you don't get the answer. You can just get like a na 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 instead of the actual words and stuff that you want. So you gotta use that in there. So I'll be curious to see. And we got did I see something pop up that
There's someone's in the queue. So David, not Stelzer, but so another David. What, you have a question?
I just I entered the prompt into ChatGPT. I didn't know if you wanted to still have these shared, the responses.
yeah, I'd love to hear how did GPT do for you?
I can't hear. Hello?
Hello, David.
We
You hear us?
can
David
hear you.
Witter?
Yeah, I think. Hold on one sec.
His butter is falling off the plate as we speak.
It didn't
Okay.
better his bread.
I think I can hear you. Go on quiet, but I can hear you. So yeah, I entered the prompt into ChatGPT and I got a response. Do you want me to share, or are we
Yeah,
moving on?
just share a highlight of the response, not the whole thing, but just a highlight of it. Be
Okay,
awesome.
so the role is a design manager in the UK. I actually used to be an architect for around 15 years. Very recently become a design manager for a main contractor, tier one contractor, Kia. I've been there only 7 weeks now. So what ChatGPT said to me was for design manager in the UK, the role is a Scrum Master, to be able to act as a facilitator and coach for the Scrum team, ensuring the team follows Scrum practice and principles effectively. And then the kind of highlights of the different areas were managing design consultants, addressing blockers, creating clarity and deliverables, clarity on deliverables. And it ends by saying, by assuming the role of a Scrum Master, and the design manager can effectively apply Scrum principles to manage the design consultants, and it then starts repeating itself, to be honest. But basically,
Yeah, it looks like we're losing you, David, but that's good for a highlight. So I mean, your buttered out just in time, because that was like, I felt like he was going to go more detailed, and we wanted just the top layer of the butter. You didn't
Okay,
don't take
just
us
the
all the way to the
crust.
crust. Yeah, exactly.
Or the ghee. Get the ghee,
Yeah,
the
just
clarified
the
butter.
ghee, just to
All right.
clarify the ghee at the top, not all the way down. I
We got
love
two
that.
more two more people. Fortune, you have a comment.
Yes, I wanted to share mine. I use Pi. Pi is my favorite AI. And so my prompt was, as an Agile coach, I want to learn more formal coaching methodologies using Scrum. Please offer some tips, Pi. And Pi gives me 4 tips: powerful questions, improving your active listening by taking training, working on your coaching presence, and always encouraging self-discovery. And finally, meditation.
Yeah, Pi is very zen. I've got
Excellent.
I use Pi on my phone as well. As it and it was my friend Paz Arroyo that turned me on to Pi. And she said, I can't tell the example of how she said, because she told me in confidence how she used it, but it was pretty good. You can have a conversation with Pi. It's built for voice to text and voice back to you very nicely, and it's free. So for some of you that are having trouble with Claude, go to your app store and look for Pi AI, and it looks like a green P and a green lowercase I is the logo for Pi. So check that out. Thank you, Fortune. That was a great share. Was there one more, or is that it, Fred?
There is one more from Mike.
Hey guys. Yeah, so I use Microsoft Copilot. My question was, as a Scrum Master, I want to learn more about how to use AI tools for my role while utilizing Scrum. I won't give you the answers that it gave. It was very high level. We'll say that I probably need a bit of chain of thought. So the idea of using Pi, I think, is quite a clever idea, because you can really drill down into something specific.
Yeah, and the AI, like the Pi AI, is just geared more towards voice. So back and forth with voice, but GPT-4 also has the same voice capability. So if you like, the longest conversation I've ever had with GPT-4 is an hour, where I was driving from San Francisco to Sacramento, and I was like, I just had a coaching call, and I talked to it for an hour about the coaching call to give it the context to then use that to coach me on how I did as a Scrum Master on said coaching call, which was really interesting. But in Copilot, just so you know, Mike, Copilot is a white glove, white label listed. OpenAI is it in the background? You're shaking your head like you already know. It's like, Felipe, I already know that. So points to Mike for knowing his stuff. Yeah, the more you
Yeah.
prompt it, the better. So if that prompt you gave, Mike, that was kind of short on the prompt. So on the left side of the screen that I was sharing had way more context in the back to feed it. Tell it more than you think you should to get better answers back.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
I think that's an approach. I think chain of thought iteration is another approach. So combination
Absolutely.
of both.
Yeah, rarely can I go like in the other directions. A lot of people make the mistake of talking to, and I'm not saying you made that mistake, but a lot of people just use it like a search engine because that's what they're conditioned to, and that's not going to be that effective. Rarely can I just give it a sentence and let it run. So I'm gonna jump back into the slideshow. So let's go back in.
Just a real quick thing on that one. Watch out on Monday. There's an expectation that OpenAI will be releasing the search engine Monday. So watch this space.
Oh yeah, I heard that. So you can actually also prompt. You can ask it how to write the prompt, right? If you're not sure.
Yes.
You can even prompt it for the prompt, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, you could say, you tell it, I'm trying to do this and I'm not sure how to prompt you. Help me, and it'll help you. All will do that. All. Is there another question? Pasha, you have a question? You got your hand up, or you good?
Yeah,
You sure?
I tried mine on GPT. So can I give a quick rundown of it?
Yeah, absolutely. High level. Remember, stay on the ghee. Don't take me to the crust of the bread. So give me a high level summary. I love that.
Okay, so my prompt, my continued part of the prompt was basically as an architect, I want to learn how I can deliver a construction project using Scrum. So GPT is just telling me that it's really about looking through the product owner's perspective. And in this case, the architect would take on the role of a product owner, defining the
100%
vision.
agree.
Yeah,
I
defining the
100%
vision.
agree with that. Yes.
Yeah.
Keep going,
Because,
Pasha. Don't let me
yeah.
interrupt you. I'm just excited. I'm excited how accurate that response is based on my experience. Keep going.
Yeah, because then it's saying the architect is the person who is taking the views from the stakeholders, and is in the process prioritizing features and functionalities and so on. But then it says under the learning outcome and alignment section that the architect would need to work with a Scrum Master who will sort of help them with the Scrum framework as such. And over time, the architect would learn from the Scrum Master. So it's really about what GPT is telling me is about getting the Scrum Master in there and helping the product owner shape the project into a Scrum project. So that's the summary of it.
That's very good. And I want to just, on that note, remind folks about hallucinations. So Sam Altman is one of the leads over there at OpenAI. Talked about the hallucinations that these different things do, and some of the responses that some of you received, you liked, you didn't like. And hallucination, it sounds like kind of scary, like, oh my God, this thing's going to hallucinate and give me like LSD type of acid answers or high on marijuana answers. It's not, that's not what hallucination means for the AI. So there's a creativity function that they program in so that the AI can learn and adapt. And it's just like children. When we're young, we use our imaginations. We pretend to play different roles. Like in the example that Pasha just shared, I'm not an architect. I'm trained as electrical engineer, but I've worked on the general contractor side. So when I work with architects and designers, I use my imagination to empathize and be in their space, be in their shoes, so to speak. And so that's why we can connect. And I've helped many designers. You saw in that example, an architect using Scrum to deliver construction projects with her team, and she's acting as the Scrum master. Now, Pasha got, based on what he told the AI, it told him act as the product owner. And I agree. And because of how he asked the question, I would not recommend Pasha being the Scrum master on his project just because of how he asked the question. Very nuanced thing, but it's because I'm using my imagination. I'm hallucinating, right? Just like the AI to learn and to talk to people. The Scrum Master is going to be that implementer. And most architects are not interested in the means and methods of how construction projects get built. They're more interested that their vision comes to life, which is very much aligned with the product owner. That's why I was interrupting him energetically. It's getting that my butter was getting melted to help and chime in and just let them know like that's the right path. And that integrator, that facilitator, doer role function is rarely the same person. It can be done, but it's super rare. That's why Dr. Sutherland shifted the product owner and the Scrum Master as two distinct people. But originally, it was the chief engineer model from the Toyota That was the original role way back in the 90s when it first came out. And now we have the 2 roles. So just food for thought for you all. So that's a little bit about hallucinations, imagination. You want some creativity so that the thing can learn and adapt with you. If you don't get that, then it just doesn't learn as fast, and it's kind of boring. All right. Mike, you got your hand up too?
Just wanted to add one thing to hallucinations. So my interpretation of an hallucination is when an AI system portrays something as fact when in actual fact it isn't, which is why people are strongly encouraged to check stuff, especially on a risk basis. So the more risk averse you are, the more you should be checking the facts that AI systems give you.
That is really good. And you could always challenge. I've had Open AI apologize to me at least once a week because it will respond with something. I was like, hey, chat, that's not right. And it's like, oh, I'm sorry, Felipe. And then it corrects itself magically. I'm like, could you just not tell the truth? I have a teenage child at home. So it's like, for me, it's like talking to my teenager over and over again. So it's like, I'm getting it from 2 angles. So it's like an adopted child over here. So in the, this is the Scrum framework that you're seeing now on the slide. So I'll bring everybody back to the slide. So this is the most basic Scrum picture that I can draw with my little tiny hands. And this is everything you have. This is everything you need. Everything you need. On my YouTube channel, I've got a video I'm going to skip over because Butter just doesn't let me share audio. But if you go to thefelipe.bio.link, you can find me on YouTube, or you can just put in Felipe Engineer on YouTube and go to my YouTube channel. This is the trailer to my channel, which describes Scrum and construction, which I'm not going to play now because, again, just can't do it with Butter. I just can't Butter it right now. I mean, I could share my other screen. So, I mean, I could share another tab, but I'm not going to be bothered because my butter is already on the bread and I want to take my bite. I can't wait. So I'm going to jump past that one. So you all can watch that on your own when you want to. But we're going to play with these agile values one more time to just go a little bit deeper. So a lot of the agilists know, and then some of you that are new to agile, you might not know that there are some values for, and then there are principles. So there are the values on the screen. You can take a screenshot of that, check that out. To the right are all the people that went to Snowbird, Utah in 2001 and got together. And for those of you from the United States, that Dave Thomas is not the founder of Wendy's. That's a different Dave Thomas. So put that disclaimer out there. But every time I see that name, I'm just like, Fred almost lost it. Fred, have you never heard that joke, Fred? He's never heard that
I
joke.
have not, but I will repeat it every time now.
You got to repeat that and that's why I reordered the names on this list of the manifesto signers just for that joke. That's how committed I am to my dad humor. Okay, so on the things in boxes on the left, we value those things above the things on the right. Things on the right definitely important, but not as important. So that's what we say. That's what we go with. Thank you, David, for sharing that YouTube video link in the chat. Super appreciate you. Give you the nice little bell right there. So these are the 12 agile principles. And in training, where we're teaching people, we're just showing people a list of values doesn't do butt kiss. It's like having a tub of butter, but not giving you a butter knife, right? So to get these values to come in, I'm going to hand you a butter knife using AI, and we're going to play with these. So you don't need to even read them all. I'm going to show you a couple pictures, and then we're going to go back into AI because this is why we're here. So we say agile is a mindset. It's totally free. The 4 values will be your lens, how you're going to see the world. The 12 principles will be things you'll put into play to act in an infinite number of practices. Infinite number of practices. So we're going to practice. So we're going to go back. I'm going to go to Claude in this example. You could say you can stay in the same prompt window, or you can open a new prompt window. Fortune's going to use pie because she loves pie. She's super pie happy. What flavor pie is it, Fortune? Is it raspberry or is it cherry pie? Is it apple pie? I don't know. So just let us know. So I want you to ask the AI this, whatever AI you want to use. So we know Mike's going to use Copilot. Do you know the 12 principles of Agile? And then based on and then insert your current role, which Agile principle should be my top priority and why? So when I did this, I put in my current role at the Bolt Company. So I put in Project Delivery Services Director. So you watch me type there at the magic of this design and construction director. So when I simplified it to director role, because that's enough context for it. And it's like, yeah, I know the 12 principles, and it's telling me like, here are the 12, Felipe. Here are the 12. So given your role, this is what I suggest. I would suggest Claude's telling me I should focus on principle 9, continuous technical execution. So there it is. I blew it up right there. So it's telling me to focus on continuous attention and technical excellence, which is actually really good. It's really, even Pasha's nodding his head. He agrees. Like that's what Felipe should focus on as a director in construction. So I'm glad I get that nod of approval from Pasha. And then it's to telling me like a little more context of what it is. It's like, if you prioritize this, you're going to help your team consistently deliver well-designed and technically sound solutions, which is great because I can get on this path of no punch list. Now in this prompt, I can talk more and I can give it more information if I want to. So let's practice getting this prompt in and then take it one step further. I want everyone to go one step further and refine the response with something more specific. So you get into a little dialogue, and then we'll share like 2 people, and then we'll open it up to some Q&A. And then I'll tease you all with the case study that I have to show some Scrum case study in construction, show you the power of using these tools in your work and how easy it is with the robot in your pocket, or in my case, the robot on the most superior device of all time, the Apple 15 Pro Max, baby. Apple all the way. I see some of you are just like, no, I want to get screwgold and get hacked. No, you could get hacked if you want to, but I'm not going to get hacked. Apple all the way. All right, so let's see what people get their prompts in there. Fred's like, I was friends with you until that moment. It's like,
Pretty
we're still
much.
friends, Fred. We're still friends. I know my best friend. I'm gonna shout out to my best friend Brian. He's been a Droid guy forever. Only one time he had Apple, and then now he had to eat crow, and he now carries 2 phones, a Samsung Galaxy and Apple 15 Pro. So even Brian got converted, Fred. So watch out.
Well, I would say Galaxy is not the best representation of what Android has to offer. I would go with a more vanilla, like a Pixel, to get the freedom of what you're doing.
There you go. There you go. All right, Mike's ready. What you got, Mike?
Yeah, so I did ask. Copilot gave me all 12. I then re-asked again, said you didn't give me an answer. Give me the one principle that you think is most important for my role. And it gave me the one that I would have used myself, which is our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. I do have a problem with it, though.
Yeah, what's the problem?
Context. So, yes, that probably is overall the most important, but the principle that you should be using at any time should be dependent on your domain problem.
Yeah, so you could see in my example, totally different answer, Mike. And then let's contrast that with one more person. I thought I saw one more hand up. Fortune, are you ready? See what
Yeah,
Pi gave her.
absolutely. So, of course, I went back to Pi and I asked, as an Agile coach, which principle should I focus on? And it said self-organizing teams. The best architectures, requirements, and designs emerge from self-organizing teams. And then I asked how I could make that principle come to life in my daily work. And it said encouraging open communication with the team, promoting shared responsibility, providing guidance and support, coaching, never giving orders, facilitating team decision processes, and always viewing the team as the true experts.
There we go. So continue conversation, good context. Yeah, let's keep talking to it. Yeah, I find I used the Copilot sometimes, Mike, and then I just got too frustrated with the restrictions it has. So I went out to a second app instance myself. So I'd be curious to see like if you see any difference between the Copilot versus some of these other applications. That's cool. Anybody else want to share? Pasha, you got your hand ready? Are you the P there, Pasha, or is it somebody else?
Yeah. I raised my hands.
Right.
And I did this again with GPT. It is telling me that the most important Agile principle I must prioritize is principle 11, which is, again, the best architecture requirements and designs emerge from self-organizing teams. So that's I guess it's the same answer that I've also got.
Okay, self-organized team is a good one. Yeah, that's especially for architects. A lot of people don't know, if you're not familiar with design construction, architects can often have 5 to 15 different sub-consultants working on the design to help them, depending on the complexity of the building, structure, or civil project, or the works. So it's interesting that it gave you that answer. That's nice. I like that. We got one more, and then we'll move on. David.
Okay, I'm gonna try and keep this in the gi. So
All right, keep
I
it in
use
the gi.
ChatGPT. ChatGPT, design manager, just to remind everybody. So we said principle 6, the most efficient and effective method of conveying information to and within a development team is face-to-face to facilitate quick feedback, collaboration, and problem solving.
All right. Yeah, thank you for the share, David. Right, so we'll move in. So for everybody, I mean, always ground yourself in the Scrum Guide. Ground yourself in the Scrum Guide. So I went to, true story, when I was getting my Scrum training with Dr. Sutherland, there was, at that time, back in the day, it's how old I am, that they used to give homework before you went to the training. You had to just read the Scrum Guide before you got there. And then, Dr. Sutherland, being a good instructor, he surveyed the class. He's like, be honest, how many of you read the Scrum Guide before today started class? And I was the only hand up. And I was like, oh my God, I'm an engineer. I was the only one. And you know what the funniest thing was? At my table, I had 4 people at my table, and 2 people were full-time Scrum Masters, and they didn't even know that a Scrum Guide was in existence. And I was like, how in the hell can you be a Scrum Master and not even know? So this is the variation we see in the world, people. So if you're in the construction industry, I read the Scrum Guide out loud to you as a bonus chapter on the EBFC show, the Easier, Better for Construction podcast, with construction commentary. So you can understand, like, from my perspective, when people say product owner, what does Felipe think about that and his experience? When they say Scrum Master, the same, and development team, the same. So you can check that out for free whenever you want using that app, and you'll get the recording. So a couple things right now, basics for getting started. Number one, use what you're comfortable with. If your flavor of AI is cherry pie, like Fortune, go for that. Claude 3, I like Claude 3 for heavy, big, giant text responses. GPT is my go-to every day. Get it done. And especially when you're using, you're in the Microsoft family of activities, like, emails, Word documents, PowerPoints, GPTs. It's all trained up on it, because hello, Microsoft is like the biggest investor of OpenAI. I think they might be the biggest investor. So a lot of training on there. You're going to need courage. You're going to absolutely need courage to talk to a robot like a person. And I talk to it like a not quite a delinquent teenage child. So I guess I'm talking to AI better than my son. Well, I'll have to talk to my son about that. I'll talk to AI about how to talk to my son about that later. And then we've got, if you want to keep it basic and analog, I'm just showing like how the Scrum framework works. And I know sometimes we get people that join these sessions and they've never seen what Scrum looks like. So this is my video of just what it looks like to move things on a Scrum board, analog, holding a camera, and shamelessly plugging my TikTok channel. I have a second instance of TikTok. So if you want to follow me, you'd be like, Felipe, where are your TikTok videos at? They were on my other channel that I retired, but I'm back. I heard the US wants to ban TikTok, so I jumped back on TikTok, because that's the kind of Scrum Master I am. All right, so that's that. So we do have any questions right now before we move in to the case study? I'll just pause here for a second. Okay, looks like we don't have any questions. I'm not seeing anything or hearing anything. Are you hearing anything, Fred? David?
I am not.
All right, perfect. So people want to hear this case study. So this is a true story. So knowing what I know about lean, a lot of people will misunderstand lean as just eliminating waste. And that's just completely false. So that's wrong. So if you're thinking lean is just being efficient and effective and eliminating waste, you have not learned enough. You have not learned enough. Lean is way beyond just eliminating waste. However, if you're trying to do something, you need some capability. So this is an example where I used the elimination of waste, and there's very specific 8 wastes that we learned from industrial engineers from this acronym downtime: defects, overproduction, waiting, non-utilized talent, transportation, inventory, motion, and excess processing. And yes, I'm not reading that from a script. I just have it memorized because this is what I use as part of my work. So if you can't recognize waste in real life, then you are trapped, and you'll not have extra capability to play with it. So this is a real project team. I'll give some background on this, but I'm going to give you the punchline right away. So we used Power BI. We used some analytics to understand, is this project doing okay? So you can see there's a lot of stuff going on the slide. So it's how we use Scrum. 3 little steps and some AI. So AI is pulling data and creating these through programming, some visual cues for us to see, like, is this cost, schedule, and quality okay? Green is good, red is bad, and orange is challenged. So now you've got there's a project. These color ups are going to make more sense in a second. There's the Scrum framework. So I'll go to this project, and we'll get into that background. We'll come back. The punchline is, well, you've seen the punchline now, so we'll come back to the punchline. So the project's $50 million. It's a basilica. It's a church in central United States. It's a 4-year project, started right before COVID. See, these are actual pictures of the finished product. 2,000-seat church, chapel, visitor center, museum, and a sacred mound. Right, this project had some challenges, like all construction projects do. Beautiful interior. One of the first challenge, it's a hard bid, so it's a design bid build, which means the lowest qualified price wins. And we were low, so we won. So we got to do it. Change directives. It was getting change directives on the average of 2 to 5 per week. So that's imagine you're trying to build something, and as you're building it, the design team says, "Wait, stop, we're changing this." You're like, okay, and then you try to incorporate that change. Then you start building again. 2 days later, they're like, "Wait, stop, we're changing this." So it's like constant starting with changes. 2 different architects working together for the first time. What could go wrong? We had weather impact, crazy. We had, never rains in this part of the country so much, and they had a record-breaking 16 inches of rain fall in 2 weeks, which created this amazing mud where they are. And then the poor roofer had to get defaulted. They could not keep up with the project. And so they said, things were looking green. We'd take a closer look. Typically don't have a roofer here. So the philosophy, the process, the people, the problem solving will all be what are happening on your projects all the time. And this is true for people not even in construction. The philosophy is the theory or beliefs will shade and color the processes that you fall into and do. The people are carrying those processes out. And then all of that feeds into the type of problem solving that you can and can't do. So your imagination, your ability to hallucinate, super important, especially for gnarly problems. So our team used this assessment and dashboards, and we saw we had some problems. Things were red. We're using Power BI with some AI capabilities, some software, little bots telling us things are, up and down. You get numbers like this. You get some ratings like this. You're like, okay, then you get data that you can trend. It still takes a human being to look at the trends. Based on the trends, are we going good? This is just a generic screenshot of multiple projects. And then, like, what does it take for it to be green, orange, or red? That pink color up here is what we have for red. That's what the developer understood as red. So to see, there's even variation in what red is, because to me, that's pink all day long. That is not red. Thank you, Fred, for laughing. I just love how entertaining I am to Fred. Like, I'm just watching. Fred's just like, you get me, Fred. Okay. So we got to take a look. Human in the loop, same thing. Even if you got fancy dashboards, there's our process going around. These are little snapshots of different screens on cost, schedule, quality, some other things. So once we look closer at what's going on with that trend line and schedule, we realize, oh, we got a gap. Schedule is actually red, it's challenged, right? So let's take a look deeper. So we should check number 1, first thing in Scrum, what's the Scrum goal? When do we have to finish this thing? So construction is really easy. So we can just look at a contract schedule. It's got to finish by October 31st. They want it done by Halloween so we can trick or treat right at the door, front door. Now, it had nothing to do with Halloween, but they wanted it done by the 31st. So we started communicating that with all the people. We asked 5 random people on the site, When does this building have to be done by? We got 5 different answers. So the first thing we did was we made that goal super visual and we put it out there. We communicated it. We made it visual. We posted it up in very prominent places so people could see it. That made a difference right there, just having that goal. Now we can decide what do we do to get us across the finish line to that goal of being done for this building, for this church to open up by Halloween, and what can we do later, right? The second thing we did was we used a lean principle. My nerds out there that know the Toyota production system, you're going to love this. This is principle number 7. Make work visible so that no problems are hidden. We created these color ups to show areas that are complete versus not. And we just colored it in like kids. We sat down at the table, we got highlighters out, like 74 different colors of highlighter, and then we colored it up, and then somebody on the team digitized it to make it easier to communicate electronically. And then from there, we decided to work on 5-day sprint cycles. So we shifted. We had a bunch of variation in how people were working. We said, let's put everything into a 5-day sprint. And we didn't teach the team what Scrum was. We just asked the team, like, hey, the way you've worked has caused you to work a lot of overtime. And I'll talk about overtime in a second. Can we do something different? And there people are like, we can't do anything different, Felipe. It's like, well, let's do something for the people first. So we know from our training, our Agile training, Brooks Law in software, adding manpower to a late project makes it later. Well, it turns out that Brooke was wiser beyond industry. This is true in design and construction as well. So there's a picture of the actual building. After it dried out a little bit, we said, what if we put a concrete sidewalk to make it easier for the workers to get in? So we're going to eliminate this wasted motion and very difficult motion to get people in the building. So we did that. And the workers said, we will try. So you did something for us. We will do something for you. We'll try to put our work on a 5-day cycle with your help. So we did that. And so as a result of that, everything went green. So we did something for the workers. Respect for people is one of the lean principles, one of the tenets of lean, one of the main foundations, even to companies like Toyota. And then we went on to a 5-day sprint cycle. The owner gave us a 4-month schedule extension. We improved our schedule by 2 months for free. Free. And then we had less stress, easier management. And then what happened as a side effect is the owner brought whiskey to the trailer and we all got drunk. And when I was on my 4th shot of whiskey, the owner said, explain how you got us on this 5-day cycle. What is that? And so then that only at that point. So that's after the time extension, after the schedule improvement, after my 4th shot of whiskey, did somebody finally say, what was this thing we were doing? This is so different. Now, notice all of you Agile coaches, I never came to the team and said, I'm going to teach you Scrum. I'm going to teach you how to be more lean. I'm going to teach you. There was no teaching. There was do. We did for the team first. And then it was based on that original AI. Something was wrong in the metrics. The feedback was just not quite right. And then we just got engaged and we stood in the space. We went to the Gemba, as they say in the lean speak. And we just listened to the people talk. So what did it take? I'm not going to let this video play. Oh, we say I'm not going to let it play. So you don't hear the video. I'm going to stop it. That's Braden. That was a perfect pause right there. 4 meetings. Remember, it's a $50 million project. They've been together for 4 years. I only go to see them 4 times, 2 hours or less. Everyone knows and follows the plan. So let me just show you a couple more pictures. All Braden was telling you is that I taught them a couple things and he's immediately used it. So what could go wrong? So old habits, new habits. You've got data in different places. The AI is just not going to help you. You have to put in something to get something out of it. There's the picture from the opening ceremony at 20,000 people come to this building. And I tell people, if you only rely on Gantt charts and you put your creativity away and you don't use it, get down on your hands and knees like that Jesus statue and start praying to your Father to save you, because you're not going to make it. Okay. I'm going to open it up to Q&A. We got some time for Q&A. Let's go. I'm going to stop my screen share. And then this is where we're going to put Fred and David on spot. There's been some chatter in the chat. What do people have? We're going to go for some more AI. Where should we start, Fred? This is your This is your butter, your biscuit. Where do you want to go?
Biscuit. I was just curious more about like how did you uh use the AI to analyze where you're at? Because I mean, I love a lot of what you showed, but maybe like how can we help our people know like
Yeah.
beyond the couple prompts, like how did you say like I got a problem, help me solution this?
Yeah. So that's where in our power dashboard, we saw an inconsistency. So the AI that was analyzing just tremendous amounts of data from our project management system, it said this is green, cost is green, schedule is challenged, quality is green, based on, you saw in the screenshot there was like 25 different panes, little panes of data stuff.
Yeah.
So a lot of data coming in. So this is where human in the loop. So we look, how can how can we be good on cost and quality but be challenged on schedule? Right? That's a discrepancy. And so that's a place to look deeper. So we can go into the data. You can, and in the analytics, you can dive into the analytics and you can query the analytics. We're just about to start turning on Copilot. So not today. Today I can't do it, but in the future, very soon, I'll be able to talk to Copilot about the results, like on that type of job, and do a deeper dive. So what I had to do, I had to go analog, Fred. So I had to like
Yeah.
click into the schedule data, look at the trend line, look at the trend, and then from there, I learned enough in about 10 minutes of looking at the data so that when I went on site with the team, I could ask questions that were more intelligent based on what the AI fed me. So the AI in this case, like I'm like the GPT. This time the AI gave me context with schedule trend information. So when I went to the team, I said, hey team, and I had to do some trust building as well because, and if you don't know how to get trust with a team, that's a good conversation to have with AI as well. So I did some quick trust building with the team so I can, when I ask questions about the schedule, I could get real answers, not fake answers. And then based on those answers, we did a deeper dive. We walked around the entire site, and then we just looked at, we have these different waste categories that I mentioned using the acronym downtime. I said, I talked to a little instance of a GPT. I was like, based on the 8 wastes in construction, and I'm telling it what I'm seeing on the site, which one should I focus on so that I can have the biggest impact to create a big change on the site? And it's like, you should focus on motion. So it's recommended. I was like, you know what? I agree. GPT. What a great suggestion. Motion would be a really good one because a lot of people on the site will be impacted by this. It's very visual too. Everybody who comes into this church has to come in through there's only 2 ways to get in. And so by enhancing one of the ways to get in, it just sent a message to everybody on the site that we care, number one, we want to make your job easier. And then they were way more open to work with us. There was no resistance. When we put this into play with the trade contractors getting onto this 5-day cycle of work, we faced zero resistance because of that great suggestion to improve how they access the building. So that was great. Like I would have thought something else first. Like I thought the communication part of just setting the goal would be enough. And it's because of that walking around, having a conversation, getting the feedback on big impact. I got that much better instance. And then we put that change into play. And then everything got better. And then somehow I got drunk. But I still was able to sober up and drive home
Good.
safely. Yeah, don't
Good.
drink and drive, folks.
Don't
Remember
do
that.
that.
Don't do that.
Karen had a question like in the chat. She asked like, how do you define which key metrics to identify and use that you pulled from the project management tool?
Yeah, so I just went to the very high level. Like people often, you can get wrapped around the axle on KPIs, key performance indicators. So I would look at a schedule. I like to look at the most because schedule touches everything else. Like if your schedule is doing well or not well, it's going to affect your costs. Rarely, I would consider schedule a leading indicator, and schedule performance in particular. Like what the team is planning, how well are they executing against their plan? To what level are they being successful with their plan? And then from there, everything else just cascades. I've never been to a project that was ahead of schedule and the quality was bad. It's never happened. So I don't have to even worry about quality, worry about schedule first. And I've never been to a project where all the costs were awesome and the schedule was poor. It's never happened. So I'm using schedule as the metric because it's how the team is thinking about their work, how they're communicating their work, and how they're doing their work. So it's like a Scrum board. So like if I have a full, and I have some construction Scrum teams that use Scrum boards, if I look at their Scrum board and it's like a 10-person team and all the sticky notes are written in one handwriting, I know that this team is effed. And like there's no ownership. This is just fake Scrum. This is Scrum marketing for like some magazine article, which is going to be garbage. Anybody that could see that in 2 seconds knows like we don't have autonomous people. You're going to see a lot of stuff that's wrong just by looking at those visuals that are representing what the work is. So I typically tend to over focus on schedule. The other thing I focus on is team morale. So when I come into a site, work with a team, how do they receive me? How do they talk to each other? This tells me more than if I would ask them like, do you feel happy today? Do you feel satisfied? If I walk into the office and they look at me like, oh, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a lot of fun. This is going to be so much fun. I get to use so many Scrum Master tools on this team. But if I walk into an office and people are like high-fiving me when I walk in, I'm like, oh, dang, this team's going to be okay. Like there's almost nothing I'm going to do here. Right. So team morale, team health. So the people side is super critical on the KPI side. And don't go asking people because people are going to lie to you. Scrum Masters, if you didn't know that teams lie to you, then welcome to your first day of being a full Scrum coach. If you ask direct questions, they're going to give you the answer that they think you want to hear. So don't be direct. Observe first and ask indirect questions that cannot be answered yes or no. Ask questions that require a lot of context, like the way we talk to the AI. Never ask GPT like a yes or no question or a Claude a yes or no question. You're wasting the capability and power of it. Give it a lot of context and you want to have a conversation with it so that way you can decide and discern like what you're going to take with it, what you're going to do with it. And then don't be one of those like theoretical AI people. Like I had a conversation with GPT one time, but that was 4 months ago. How can I get started with AI today? Like if you ask me that question, just hang up on this butter right now. Because this is something that we learn in agile practices. This is empirical process control. You're going to learn by doing. So you've got to actually do it. If you talk to it and it gives you a bunch of suggestions and you don't do anything that it did, then just pretend you never talked to it and just move on because you're not doing anything. You got to like take something, play with something, and then when you go back and engage, the way I talk to GPT now is nothing like the way I started talking to it 2 years ago. It's totally different because now I have this relationship and I know what it can do, its capabilities, and I stay up to date on the new changes and updates so that my conversations stay relevant and useful and it helps me. It's helpful.
So if I was to mirror back some of what I heard is for you in your skill set working with construction, you've taken a lot of your experience that's built up kind of your senses, your competency, your spidey sense over time, where you kind of know these key things. So if we translate that over to software development, I might like first, if I wanted to go from a metrics perspective, like you look at schedule for construction for software, I might look at Dora metrics as one way of analyzing and say, okay, hey, we're having this issue with our change failure rate, and that's that thing that starts lighting. And
Right.
then I go ask people, do the Gemba walks and talk about things indirectly. But I think not indirectly, without yes, no. But what it comes down to is like really having a good understanding of what business you're working in. Like, what are those things you should be looking out for? And maybe that's where AI could help us. You could say like, hey, I'm a new Scrum Master. I've never worked with software engineering before. Beyond the principles, what are some things I should look out for that let me know I need to look even further? That's where it might give you some ideas like, okay, look out for, like you said, team interactions might be one. If the team is
Yeah,
quiet during the daily Scrum, that's something you can work on. So
absolutely. That's a great context giver. And even in construction, there's a bunch of like different verticals and different types of construction. Like there's commercial, industrial, and they're not the same. When I work on industrial teams, I'll give AI, here's some things. I'm going to this project of this type to do this type of thing. What's some language and jargon that I should know? So when I go and I talk to the people, like I'm one of them versus being an outsider. Mike's got his hand up. What you got, Mike?
Yeah, I'm just a bit concerned by some of the things that you guys are saying. Not that it's necessarily wrong, but so I've never worked construction, so I can't talk about scheduling, but certainly DORA metrics tend to be a trailing indicator, and they come with all of the problems that trailing indicators come with. In other words, you have to fail before you know that there's something wrong. So I'm not saying it's wrong. It has a time and a place, but if you can gain the same insights through leading indicators, leading metrics, I certainly advocate for looking at those first and foremost.
Yeah, that's why I put on that team health side. We learned, like in our training, the happiness metric as one of the few things that actually can predict team success. Like, where is the team's health, morale? Is if it's high, it's likely to be a high performing team. If morale is really low, then the team is likely not to be performing. Then you could go deeper into the metrics. But when we don't, I'm serving sometimes like 200 different projects, and I can't be on 200 projects at one single time, and they're all over the country. So I use these metrics, even though they're lagging indicators. Like, where should I pay attention? Right? I can Pareto chart some of the metrics and go after, like, here's some high impact places where I should go. And some of you are just lucky to have a project to work on. You don't have to be like so multitasked like I am. I have like sometimes split project personality disorder, Scrum Master trauma. I'll have to talk to my therapist about that. But that's a good recommendation, Mike. And just keep in mind, folks, like, and of the KPIs that your company measures, which ones are predicting future actions and which ones are telling you like yesterday's weather, right? There's a big difference. Like, so keep that
And
in
I think,
mind.
and I think it depends where you are. If you're overseeing 200 projects, you don't have the time to do leading metric analysis for every single one of those projects. And so I could understand why you'd use trailing indicators. So again, I think it's context and situationally dependent.
I agree. And I just like before he said 2 times, Fred, you're not wrong, but you're wrong, Fred.
I trust Mike. So, all right, David, you got a question, and we'll wrap it
I
up.
just conscious of time, and I want to bring it back to Pasha's question. He's got a question that says, "I'm a novice in construction, but how did the sprint cycle sync with suppliers for raw materials, etc.?" Pasha, do you want to add to that?
Oh yeah. So I'm just trying to relate this to one of the contracts that I just finished. So basically, what you're looking at here is, Felipe, when you said the architects, the team says, okay, you've got to check the old design. You need to go with the new design, which also then impacts, in my understanding, the kind of raw material that you might want to procure in order for that to, in order for that new build to happen. And then if there's a change beyond that as well, and then there's a new procurement order. Every time there's a change, there's a new procurement order. And then
right.
How do you sort of reconcile the delivery of the new raw material with the new delivery of the new build? With the delivery of the new build, So I'm just trying to understand, how do your 5-day cycles run smoothly, and that kind of because procurement is not really under your control, right? You might say,
No, it
okay,
is. Procurement is under my control. Yeah, as a general contractor, we own procurement through the subcontracts and trade partners. So we own that. We do control that. Yeah. So what you didn't, so when I said we put everybody on a 5-day cycle, what that allowed the team to do was to actually look all the way to October 31st. So before, we had a schedule of over 30 pages long. And if you try to follow where your unique company, like let's say I'm the painting contractor, I might have to jump around 10 different pages of schedule data to figure out like, where am I going? What's my sequence? When we shifted to the 5-day sprint cycle, now the painter could see like, oh, I'm these orange blocks. Everywhere I see an orange block, I'm painting, and I can see what area I'm painting in, because my Scrum board now had a fully detailed backlog, so I could see all the way to the future. So if it, like today was August, I could see from August all the way to October. When I come on site, how many people I need, and I can figure out how much material I need to sustain that drive. And then now the designers could see, oh, they're going to come onto the museum at this point. So the design team was like, we're going to prioritize museum changes now before they get there. Because before it was too hard to read, to see. And it wasn't to say that there weren't still some changes that affected things, but now we had full buy-in with the owner, the two architects, and we can negotiate and say like, okay, this change that you want to make, we're going to have to do this after the opening ceremony. Because there were still some changes that the owner and one of the architects wanted, and they just agreed like, yeah, it's reasonable, we can push this out, because the contract that we signed up to says when an architect issues a change, you have to immediately start making the change happen. There was no way for us to negotiate in that original hard bid contract, but after we changed and made everything very visual, people naturally said, hey, do this change later, or do this change now. This is a do now, this is a do later. So like in Scrum, we talk about the long and short forecasting in the like Miyamoto Musashi long and short sword method for martial arts. You gotta have something to be able to deal with like things like really close in my face, and then things further in the future at beyond arm's distance away. And a lot of schedules, like people look at schedules, especially waterfall schedules, and they think like, well, my schedule is 2 years long. Everything's just baked in. And it's a false sense of security, because you can have a change happen and you're missing an activity. It's not going to trigger. You still need to take that someone on the team, let's say like Scrum Master, with the product owner, because the product owner owns what that is. Like oftentimes in construction, when those changes are issued, people just don't care. They say that's means and methods. That's your problem, because of the silo type of approach. So if we act as a team and I issue a change, you should be like, how can I help my team adopt this change that we need to make? That's a different style versus like, I'm just going to push this over to you. You're going to have to deal with it. It's very adversarial in the everyday. So when you create this team environment using these principles, it changes the whole thing. And now, like when we give the changes to the trade contractors on this project after, they would tell us like, hey, we can blend this change in. Now we're getting like real-time feedback every week, how we can work together to make the change happen. And the architect has started coming to the site every single week as well. So a lot of positive changes happened because of those 3 little things we did.
Excellent. Sorry to interrupt. I'm sure y'all can, if you want to continue the conversation, connect with Felipe on through his channel or through LinkedIn. I don't want to bring us to a close. I want to thank y'all for coming in today and highlight our next few sessions. Coming up next Tuesday, Alka Bandari will talk about unleashing the power of fear, as fear is an acronym. Stands for focus, enthusiastic action, and another letter. And then another one on May 29th, about to be announced. Paul Anumadu is going to talk about neurodiversity in software development. And then on June 5th, or June 3rd, Ashvani Bisser, the 5 lean principles. So thank you all for coming in today. Keep an eye on our Meetup page, and y'all have a great day. And thank you, Felipe, for sharing everything with us. Feel free, you got 1 minute. You can give him some soundboard love. He gave us a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, everybody. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a good day and a good evening.